Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we embark on another Facebook Live, a great session that we have lined up for you today. I see many people in the audience from all over. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We see a little bit of an echo here, but it looks to be resolved now. I see people from near and from far, so thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't yet, please write in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. We love to see where we're reaching. I see Tina here from southern Wisconsin. Marie, of course, is tuning in from Belgium, our Belgium country manager. We love it when you're in the audience. Lots of amazing comments to share with all of us. Celeste here from Lisbon, Portugal. We have Tina from Long Beach, California. So thank you to all of you in the audience. And please feel free to chime in and tell us where you're tuning in from today. So we have a great session, as I said. We'll be talking about ancestors that came through Pennsylvania, a really fascinating subject, and we have a fantastic guest with us today who has joined us in the past for a very different topic of a Facebook Live about German family history. So this is a different look at things, and we are really excited to get into it. Before I do, I'll just let you know about a giveaway that we have today. We'll be giving away a MyHeritage Complete Plan to one lucky viewer in the audience. So to enter, since we'll be talking about immigrants and family who moved over and came in through different ports, please let us know whether you live in the United States or elsewhere. Tell us about the stories of your ancestors and the places they immigrated to. We'd love to hear about their stories of immigration. So leave us a comment in the comment section. And of course, things that you discovered on MyHeritage about these stories, even better. And one lucky winner will receive a complete plan on MyHeritage. It's the best plan that we have to offer. It'll give you access to 17 billion historical records. And of course, we're adding new historical records every single day. So that number just keeps going up and up, keeps growing. It will also give you unlimited family tree size, access to all of the MyHeritage photo tools. So that's MyHeritage in color, the MyHeritage photo enhancer, and much, much more. So we're really excited to be able to give that away to one lucky viewer in our audience. So we look forward to reading all your comments. Please let us know. And feel free, of course, to leave questions and comments throughout the session. We will have a question session at the end. So if you have a question at any point in time, feel free to type it. You don't have to save it for the end. You can type it at any point in time in the comments, and we'll be collecting those to ask them at the end. So I'd like to introduce our speaker now. Without further ado, we have with us Jim Biedler, and he is the director of the Genealogical Society of Pennsylvania. He'll tell us a little bit more about that position and what he does there. He's also an award-winning genealogist, and he specializes in German family history. And he'll tell us more about his background in family history and genealogy. But as I said before, this is our second Facebook Live, I believe, where he is our guest. It was an incredible session last time as well. And if after this session you'd like to go back and watch the other one, it's also available on the MyHeritage Facebook page under the videos section, as well as all of our past Facebook Lives. So definitely feel free to check that out as well. So let me bring Jim on to say hello to everyone. Let's bring him into the screen here. There we go. Hello.
Hello there. So glad to be with you here, Esther. And wow, looking through the chat, everybody who's checking in, you really do have a worldwide audience. That's for sure.
I love seeing it. It's really incredible. And I always say this is something that, COVID really brought us all closer together.
Yes, it certainly did. It created a lot of new opportunities that were there for genealogists to take advantage of. and a globe spanning outfit like my heritage has really been tailor made for this new reality.
It's incredible to see, where everyone's tuning in from, and even what the weather's like in their part of the world.
Indeed.
So, should we bring up your slides? Should we get them up?
You're ready?
Let's.
Yep.
Okay, great. Let me put them up here. Okay, there we go. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Esther. Well, first of all, just a little bit of introducing, who is this guy and why does he claim to know Pennsylvania? Well, first of all, I'm a native born Pennsylvanian, and except for a couple of years in exile in Alabama, and when I went to college on Long Island, New York, I've lived in Pennsylvania my entire life. And I'm actually in my second hitch as executive director of the Genealogical Society of Pennsylvania. I was the ED from 1999 to 2003 and came back last October as interim executive director and have been just absolutely having a blast. The folks who were in place at GSP already had a lot of good things going on, and I've just tried to enhance upon them. In the other parts of my genealogy life, as Esther intimated, I'm the author of 4 commercially published books, 3 of which are in German genealogy, and the others on historical newspapers. I write weekly the Roots and Branches blog that also appears in the Altoona Mirror newspaper in Pennsylvania. Someone asked me once what my writing practice was, and I said, "Well, I've been writing a newspaper column for more than 20 years every week. I hope that counts as some practice." And I'm also a German Life magazine columnist, and I've been doing that for close to 20 years. But let's talk a little bit about Pennsylvania, because it's not just kind of my home state pride that I think Pennsylvania attracts a lot of people to talk about, and that's because it's estimated that probably about 1 in 4 Americans have at least one ancestor who stepped foot in Pennsylvania or crossed through Pennsylvania, and in large part that's because even though we think of today as New York Harbor, New York City, as the leading port of entry into the United States, and certainly for that great wave of immigration in the late 1800s into the early 1900s, New York was. But long before New York, Philadelphia, it was the largest city in British North America. And what followed that is that it was the leading port of entry for immigrants in the 1700s and actually into the to early 1800s, and remained a secondary port of entry, well into the 20th century. Pennsylvania as a colony, one of the original 13 colonies, was the most diverse, because unlike New England, which was mostly, I guess, what we would call Yankee stock, mostly from especially from the English parts of the British Isles, and the southern colonies, which had their English but also a lot of Scots Irish, uh, or Scots Irish descendants. Pennsylvania had the Scots Irish, had the Quaker English, the non Quaker English, and many Germans, many African Americans, both free and enslaved. We began gradual emancipation of the enslaved in 1780. And yeah, I do give a nod to my many Germans, because that they were in a unique situation in colonial Pennsylvania. Well, unique for the colonies as a whole, in that they were the largest uh, free white uh, settlers who were not already uh, did not already have allegiance to the British king before they came to America. And this created a lot of records that you don't have for a lot of those people from the British Isles. For most Germans, you're able to get the exact ship they came over on in the 1700s. Most of them needed uh, to be natural. Well, they didn't need to be naturalized; they wanted to be naturalized. So you have those records that are very good, and plus a lot of church registers that for Pennsylvania. We came to vital records registration a little later than many states, and so thankfully, at least for the 1800s and for the Germans in particular in the 1700s, we have a lot of religious registers that are great vital records substitutes. So that's kind of a very much once over lightly as far as a little bit of Pennsylvania history, a little bit of why many of you I well, I used to joke until I turned it into a lecture, that I got tired about hearing people say, I have this ancestor and all I know is that they were born in Pennsylvania. And this comes as uh, comes from the fact that so much migration was going on through America that by the time of the 1850 census, the first one where everyone is where there's data on every individual taken, uh, in that 1850 census, you've got loads of people from Ohio to California who are listed as, all we know is Pennsylvania and don't know a county, don't know a part of Pennsylvania, and trying to find that is the key. Uh, so My Heritage has several really good, unique record sets that you will want to put your attention to. I mean, of course, there's going to be other services you're probably going to use too, but I want to make sure you all get the best you possibly can out of My Heritage. And the first thing that's really pretty cool is the Pennsylvania Death Index. Now, I said how Pennsylvania came to vital records registration uh, somewhat late compared to other American states. It began in 1906 statewide that every person had to have a death certificate. And for many years, these, as well as our birth certificates, were considered closed records. You could get your own, you could get a close family member, but you had to jump through a lot of hoops if you wanted to get them from our Department of Health. But about oh gosh, I guess it's more than 10 years ago now. Due to efforts of many genealogists and groups, and yeah, I might have been one of them. We got a change in our vital records law, where after 50 years for deaths, 105 years for births, they became public records. And these ones that are now outside of the blackout period, they're available at other sources. But what My Heritage has is an index, a computer produced, well, if it scans of the computer produced index of that was kept by the Pennsylvania Department of Health. And because this is a typewritten index, uh, originally typewritten and then computer outputted. Uh, you will find some people in this index, and it currently covers 1906 from when the certificates begin through 1964, close to the end of the blackout period. Uh, this you will find some people here that you're unable to find from uh, doing a search of the indexing of the original certificates that appears elsewhere, because those original certificates, for the most part, are handwritten, and so a lot of indexing errors. But MyHeritage is the only publicly available place you're going to find this Pennsylvania Death Index. So that's a real good benefit to your MyHeritage subscription. Then also now, if you were paying very close attention to how I introduced myself, I said how one of my books was on historical newspapers. Well, there's a good reason for that, because I was a first career journalist. I saw how the sausage was made during my years writing headlines, and as a matter of fact, for several years, I was the person who put together the obituary page. So newspapers are near to dear in my heart. And as you see here, MyHeritage has a Pennsylvania newspapers collection that will take you to the newspapers. It's some 70 different titles from across the state, and 7.5 million pages. That's millions and millions of names. And I'm especially happy that my hometown, Reading Eagle. I live in Berks County, again, where I was born. And matter of fact, this guy, Wellington Mockmer, who I did a search on, he is one of my great great grandfathers. Uh, he bought the home that I presently live in 101 years ago. That home came into the family, and then has been passed down through various family members. And this Reading Eagle, it is not available on other services. So I know Google News had it before they shut down their searchability some years ago. And I had done some searching, because I found all sorts of things like this Wellington Mockmer, when his son James, who is my namesake, in the year 1900, he went west to Illinois on his bicycle with a friend. And he then returned about a year later. Uh, uh, he worked supposedly. I don't know what else he did, but he came back to Pennsylvania. So this is something I'm real excited that MyHeritage has, and like I said, a lot of these newspapers are not ones that you're going to find on Chronicling America, let alone some of the other pay services. And then also talking about newspapers, the Philadelphia Jewish Exponent, a newspaper, is an example of, do not just look for, I guess, what you would call mainstream newspapers, but also look for ethnic and religious newspapers. Because a lot of times, now the example I used more is German language newspapers. Yes, again, as Esther tagged me, I'm a German specialist, but especially when it involves people who spoke a tongue other than English originally. In the English language press, a lot of times those names might be butchered, whereas in the the ethnic press, even if it is in English, it will usually be more accurate as far as the all important place names and surnames, the things that are unique to your particular folks. So the fact that they have the obituary database for the Philly Jewish Exponent newspaper is a really a really great thing to have. And then also another thing that is distinctive on my heritage, and here you kind of have to use the catalog that's on my heritage, the catalog, kind of the master catalog of the databases. You will find from just about all of the counties of Pennsylvania biographical histories. Now, yeah, even though it's virtual, I saw a few of you turning up your noses a little bit because one of the first things you're told as a genealogist is not to believe those county mug books, so-called mug books. And indeed, they are secondary sources. A lot of times they skip generations and so forth, but they're good basic starting points for you then to go track down records to either confirm or deny the information that is in them. And as I was looking through these, I've seen several of these for my home county of Berks, but to be honest, I hadn't seen before this one from 1925 from a man who was one of the early uh, uh, Berks County area professional photographers, Cyrus Fox. And Cy Fox compiled this Reading and Berks County history with biographical records of a lot of the early folks. So that's again pretty darn exciting. And you know, like while I'm using Berks County as the example here, like I say, there are many counties from across the state, and again, you want to do a keyword search for them in the catalog of databases that MyHeritage has. And then another thing that's really great is MyHeritage uh, has gotten the databases for a lot of the college yearbooks, and this is colleges and universities throughout Pennsylvania, generally from around the time of the World Wars to some date fairly close to the present, but it varies from school to school. But you know, if you have somebody, you know, maybe not a direct line person, but a collateral person who was in the family who went to college, boy, this gives you a lot of good information about them. And the one we're showing here, LaSalle in Philadelphia, part of our Big Five of colleges and universities. But there are a smattering of these college yearbooks of universities who MyHeritage has the yearbooks for from around the state. And then beyond that, again, do not just keyword searches for Pennsylvania, but also Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, the county name like Cambria or Bradford or what have you. Because there are literally hundreds of databases that MyHeritage has that may have some relevance. And Esther was talking about immigrants. Well, the passenger lists, of course, are one of the most significant points because it's a teeter-totter point between the old world and the new world for most of these folks. And here you just see off the top, you have passenger lists from Philadelphia starting with 1800. Starting with 1800, they're sporadic in the early years, and then from the 1880s on, we have not just the actual lists, but also a card index that was I believe compiled right at National Archives. And of course, you think, well, if you have the passenger list, why do you need the index? Well, because a lot of these things were originally handwritten, and because the surnames can get goofed up. Sometimes you'll find somebody in an index that you won't find by doing a search of the actual lists. But then when you find them in the index, Then you can go browse to the actual ship, the actual page, and then you can find the data. So it's a way of coming in the side door when the front door appears to be blocked. So again, this is just a real quick tour because I'm imagining there might be some questions. I'm hoping there's some questions out there that might um, uh, be salient to your own particular cases. And I'm just kind of giving you a around the state in 20 minutes. So that's what I have for you. And like I said, I'll be happy to talk about questions if you want.
Sure. So let me get these slides out of the way. Okay.
So to say.
So we do have a question here from Dorothy. She said, "I believe my paternal great grandmother died in Philadelphia in 1911, probably due to a famine, unclean water, etc. Though I located her gravesite, I've asked for a death certificate, and presumably there is none. Can you help?" So, any advice in that case, I guess, in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania without a death certificate? What can people do?
Yeah, the first thing is I'm going to challenge that there's no death certificate because uh, up until 1915, actually, Philadelphia as a city kept death certificates as well as ones for the state. So Dorothy, um, uh, and I don't know, can I put something in chat? Or well, uh, message you, or I want you to send me an email is what I'm saying, because I have some ideas for you to check both on the city side and also on the statewide. Tell me give me the name and so forth. I want to see if I can do better for you. So because we've got two shots at it, both the state death certificate and a city death certificate. You'd think at least one ought to have survived. So
Okay. What was your greatest? This is a question actually from me. Jim, what was your greatest discovery in terms of your Pennsylvania heritage?
oh gosh, I don't think I can limit it to just one. I think probably one of the ancestries I've had the most fun with was a man named Johannes Dinius, and various other spellings and pronunciations close to that, who came to America 1765. He died just a few years later, 1778, I believe, in what is now Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. And in his will, he organized his children by his wives. He says, "By my daughter Anna Elizabeth, from my first wife, I give blah blah blah. By my children, by my second wife," and names them, "I give blah blah blah." And then by the children by my third and current wife, Maria Christina, and names them. Oh, and it was apparent that at least some of these children had to have been born in Germany, but where? And the long story short is, fighting through all sorts of surname variants, I was able, one pebble at a time, was able to establish that he came from Steinwend in Germany, found the names of each of the wives, found children's baptisms in Germany that lined up as them being children of the respective wives. So but if I hadn't had the clue from his will of by the first wife, by the third wife, I never would have been able to feel I had proof. So that's another lecture I do called Case Study, the case of Johannes Dinius.
Oh, wow. Okay, we have a question here from Madge who asks, When were death certificates required in Pennsylvania? I have two male relatives who disappeared, but the wife is listed as a widow um, in local records summary. So what about death certificates? What do you know about
Yeah,
certificates in
yeah,
Pennsylvania?
yeah. The the very first vital records that survive are from 1852 to 1855. They were county level death registers, and only they estimate only about 10% compliance on that. Uh, then some of the larger cities began keeping death records. Philadelphia, for instance, began in 1860. Pittsburgh area, 1870. Some of the other major cities. And then 1893, statewide, it was decreed again county registration. Its estimated compliance from 1893 to 1905 was about 90%. And then from 1906 on is when it's a certificate on the state level. And if it's post 1906, Madge, if you haven't checked that death certificate index on My Heritage, that's your next step.
Okay, I see a question here from Todd who asks, how early did they record ship records coming into Philadelphia?
Yes, for the Germans, well, technically for anyone who was a quote unquote foreigner, meaning that they were not already subject to the British Crown, this began in 1727. 99% of those people were Germans. And they were technically not passenger lists, they were oaths of allegiance lists where they were forswearing their former loyalties and pledging allegiance to the British king, and it's males 16 and older. We do have, for a tiny number of those ships, also a full manifest of all the people's names. Usually, and like I say, usually they're Germans, and usually it was those full ship manifests where they survive were written by a Dutch shipmaster, and it's amazing some of the corruptions of those names that you'll find. But 1727 is the starting date.
Okay. So I think that's all the questions that we have for today. Any lasting advice that you'd like to give our viewers about researching their Pennsylvania heritage, if they have, or maybe they don't know if they have or not?
Well, of course, this is the point where I'm going to say, remember, I'm interim executive director of Genealogical Society of Pennsylvania, and I tend to think that a membership in GSP is a good place for you to start. And as a little bit of an extra incentive, later this year, we're going to be publishing a new guidebook called the Pennsylvania Genealogical Almanac. And if you sign up as a member this year, you're going to get a free copy as a perk of membership.
That's a good deal.
I think so too.
Okay, so make sure to keep that in mind as you research your Pennsylvania heritage, everyone here in the audience. And we really appreciate this amazing session. I think it's a great jump start into, the background of this area that I think a lot of us didn't know about or weren't aware how popular. I thought that statistic was just so eye-opening that you started off with.
A lot of people pass through. So, and I do want to give a final nod again, thanking My Heritage for the support you've given Genealogical Society of Pennsylvania. We've been starting back with a lot of programming, and you've been very, very kind as a supporter with door prizes and so forth.
Fantastic. So now we'd like to do our giveaway of a My Heritage complete plan. This is our door prize for the Facebook Live. So, thank you everyone who left comments. And our winner today is Tina Lee. And Tina wrote us and said, my third grandparents, Glennon, settled in Pennsylvania after emigrating from County Roscommon, Ireland. After living in Philadelphia for 10 years, they came to Wisconsin with their children. My Heritage City Directories helped me track the Glennons' activities. My Heritage helped me first connect with other trees with the Glennons, and two, determine that I had the correct maiden name for my third great grandma. Two Glennon daughters married Fisher brothers, and my maternal line was created. So that's a really nice story, Tina. And please contact us through private message to claim your prize. So just send us a message on Facebook and we will be in touch with you. And was that really common, Jim? Kind of brothers marrying sisters during that era?
Well, what we say certainly about rural areas is if you build out from the family, the farms surrounding, and then the second level of the farms beyond that, that's where you usually found your spouses. Uh, and so with large farm families, yeah, a lot of times there were other siblings eligible, and made for very easy double dating.
That's for sure. What a nice story, Tina, and thank you for sharing that with us today. So, Jim, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to have you back again in the near future.
Absolutely, Esther. Thank you very much.
Okay, have a great day, everyone. Thank you all for
Bye.
joining us.